Yeah, Coach. What are some of the issues for you all to try to take and maintain the energy and spirit you all had on Sunday?
Yeah, obviously the consistency, right? That's the biggest challenge week to week. For us to take the next step, we have to do that. Being consistent and playing with the same focus and energy that we had going into last week, and because we're going on the road, it'll be a tough environment. It'll be loud. It's a really talented team, and with a lot of speed and a lot of good playmakers in all three phases.
Just doing the numbers, looking at it, it looks like you got a good rusher attack there. Numbers look bad, but I know that defense.
Yeah, I think just maybe some of the ways the games have gone, those numbers can get skewed. Depending on people trying to attack you or if people have a lead, right, you get more run heavy. No different than the question you asked me about some of the stuff where it can skew some playing time depending on what situations you're playing in. A lot of 2-minute, right, you'll be a little more pass heavy, and a lot of 4-minute, you should be a little more run. Obviously, you pick the ball up sometimes. So it's a really talented front, and they got depth and they rotate it. Mosley and Williams are two of the faster inside backers will play. They're aggressive all the way across, so it's a big challenge for us.
I've asked you this before, Heather, but this is an AFC team that you've actually in some form of fashion seen every year, which is rare. Does that provide anything? Or?
Well, I mean, you're a little more familiar. We practice against them. Some of the players they've added, but schematically, you know what they're about. I mean, it's a good challenge. So you're a little more familiar than you are against some other AFC teams. Yeah.
The fact that the quarterback situation all year has been kind of all over the place. Is that, have you noticed much change in kind of what they do, or?
Everybody tries to play to the strengths of the guys out there. At the end of the day, though, I mean, no matter who's at quarterback, they're trying to distribute the ball to they believe their playmakers are, or attacking certain coverages or certain looks. Most people do. I mean, they got some really explosive players. Hall and Wilson. I mean, those guys. I mean, they can. However they get the ball in their hands, I mean, they can make you pay if they get in space. They get to the first level of your defense, and so we got to do a really good job all the way around. But they've got some explosive playmakers.
You mentioned Wilson. Obviously, him and Dre, Malawi, that whole crew.
Yeah.
You guys had your pick of them.
Yeah, they're all great players. They're all different styles. That's the thing. Is like not like recruiting, where you can hopefully get a bunch of, guys of that caliber in one class, or maybe you have, you look at the history of some of these programs and some of the players they've had in there at one time, the running back room or receiver room, and that's a credit to a lot of those guys. And so you can't take them all. You got to do what's best for you, and a lot of people like that comparison, but they're just so different because they're all great players in their own right. Some about fit, where they go. I would argue that all three of them, if you clump those guys together, have had really good success, and they're all good players.
You spoke Sunday about the importance of last Wednesday's practice and what that meant for that practice week. Cliss, after the game, said that he challenged his teammates to come back and do it again this week. But in a 17-week schedule, can you really ask that of your guys on a week-to-week basis?
Yeah, that's our challenge. That's what you want. It goes back to that consistency, shouldn't take a loss or feel like your back's against the wall to have that level of focus and intensity. I mean, that's the challenge. You fight, you're fighting one or the other. You're trying to, when you're down, trying to have perspective and to keep working to fix your issues to get a win. And then when you win, you're fighting not to feel satisfied. Shouldn't be that way, but the history of time will tell you it is. In life and a lot of professions, but that's what you love about football and pro football is that challenge. It's a challenge every week.
What challenges does Sauce Gardner present for you guys, and would it help you at all with Des having some history with him playing on the same team?
He's a good player. He's as good as anybody when he gets up on the line of scrimmage, and that's why they took him early in the draft. But we see good players every week. And that's what you love about the NFL, and he's done a good job. He's had a good start to his career.
Taylor said that he encouraged Des to keep leading the Tuesday meeting that the quarterbacks have, even during the transition. Is that rare in that situation, and how important do you think that was for the way they've handled it?
I definitely think it was important, but that speaks a lot to Taylor and just his perspective and being a good teammate. rare. I mean, I don't know if I've seen that a lot. You know, they can give you more perspective. Taylor's been in a lot of different quarterback rooms, but that speaks to the chemistry that all three of those quarterbacks have.
And I would imagine it I don't know if kept Des' spirits up is the right word, but at least kept him in a better frame of mind than.
Probably helped, certainly. You know, what happens, it's such a competitive, cutthroat profession. Even among teammates, it's still, I mean, those guys want to play. They all want to play. They should want to play. Like, if you got guys that don't want the ball or don't want to play, I always say you got the wrong guys. I mean, you know, people go about it, but, like, never had an issue with a guy that wants to play more. It's like when somebody wants a job, like, you know, you can't hire everybody, but don't ever fault somebody for wanting a job. I got a problem with people that don't want to work. That don't, you know, if you really think about it, like, that's it. So, it's great that everybody wants to play, but there's a way to do it, and that says a lot about Taylor's maturity and the professionalism. Like, I would, you know, you'd have to ask those two guys, but from my perspective, that certainly helped him.
With 6 games left, what would you consider the team's identity at this point in the season?
Well, I mean, you know, like I said, it's been the same theme for a while. I mean, we're in a lot of close games, and we're trying to take the next step where you know how it is week to week in the NFL, but you want to continue to do things that don't hurt you. You know, the turnovers, you got to continue to clean those up. But as an identity, I would say that our guys play as hard and as physical as anybody. And that's week in and week out. Certainly was the case last week, but this is going to be a big challenge. We got another really good front. They're going to try. I know their O-line coach really well, Keith Carter. They've had to deal with a lot of injuries, but I know what Keith's preaching and what he's about. And so it'll be a physical game on both sides again.
In terms of the quarterback being the job for us, the fact that Taylor has kind of had been in this situation before, do you think that maybe played part of why he was maybe more willing to do that than
Probably.
most quarterbacks would?
Yeah, he's got experience, wisdom. That's what you want. You're talking about chemistry. You know, if you had 3 young guys in there, they may not go well, or if you have the wrong guy that's has a great presence through his avatar and to you guys through the lens he thinks it's the public, but behind the scenes the guy's obnoxious, he's selfish and bad teammate, and it can go really bad. But Taylor's got a lot of empathy, a lot of wisdom, and it's probably his perspective. You know, he's been through a lot.
Is that, I mean, when you guys signed him, was that part of it too? Where,
Sure.
like, if for whatever reason.
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
didn't go-
Absolutely. You know, I'm not saying we don't think we have all the answers, but they're trying to have thought and who's available and how they fit and what you need. But that certainly, Taylor checked a lot of those boxes.
On Monday, we never really caught up with you about potential injuries stemming from the game. Are there any players that won't practice?
Landman today, but he's got a shot to play. We're just being cautious with him. Lower body, you know, just in the middle of the season. Nothing significant, but we'll hold Nate out today, so we have to monitor that. That'll be on the injury report, so I'm not giving any secrets. Sorry, D-Lad.
Do you, I don't know, kind of look back, or I mean, maybe not, reflect on the career that Koo's been having? Just like his season and the careers and seasons that he's been having. There's a cool stat on ESPN.
I saw it, yeah.
So
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a credit to him. You know, to my guy, keep working. He got cut a couple times. I mean, sometimes it's harder to break in as a kicker, especially if you're not drafted. There's not a lot of capital in you, and those guys. I saw it with Brett Kern as a punter in Tennessee. You know, those guys get on the circuit sometimes, and they find a home and they stick, and it probably teaches them a lot. It's a special mentality to have to do that. Koo's done it here, and certainly since I've been here. You know, I talk about how clutch he's been. Just like I tell him, opinion, they're very reliable, both pretty dramatic, and but I love those guys.
How much do you feel this defense took another step forward given the game last week?
Well, it's just, you know, making plays in critical situations. There's times that, you know, things that you're always trying to work on that teams try to attack. They made a couple plays, and then we answered in those critical downs in the red zone, and obviously getting the 2 turnovers as they were going in and scoring position. Huge momentum swings. We need to continue to work that. Same thing with some of the tackling. Got to be better, especially on the sideline tackling. There's always stuff to work on. But it was a really good overall team win. But we need to kind of build off that and continue to work.
Anything else?
Sir, I guess, you might have mentioned this before, but is there anything like, is momentum a thing? Like when you have such a great win like that, or, you know, a close win like that?
I don't know if it's enough momentum, but you certainly carry over confidence that, hey, look, what we're working on is the results are showing. That's what you want. So you're not selling you on some empty promises. I mean, you need to see results. Talk about that a lot. I think that does, but every game tells their own story. Like if you come out, you may have a great week of practice, and then it goes bad early in the game, I don't know if that's momentum carried over, but certainly there's confidence that can build habits, the work paying off. I think that would argue that that would be the biggest thing.
You mentioned the tangible stuff. That seems like the 2.5 years you've been here. That's you've said that a lot.
Yeah.
It seems like is that closer to reality? You think at this point, or is that? Do you still feel like you guys are trying to show something in that?
In terms of what?
In terms of like the tangible proof of what?
Well, I mean,
what you're
every
trying
season
to-
it's week to week.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, yeah. I mean, you talk about winning close games or things you work on, situational, or while you want to continue to build certain habits because they pay off, and you got a lot of belief. You know, you get in a game like last week, and you know it may not, maybe the 500th time you've worked on that step and that block, and now you've got confidence in it, and you're in a rhythm, and you have results from it. But it didn't happen just by accident. There's a lot of when that happens, whether it's rep 50 or rep 2022, you know, that's the stuff you work on that's just boring and mundane, but it pays off, and that's what you want to see because, like I said, I mean, you can start 6-0, and we've seen those people collapse. We've seen it kind of be middle of the road, up and down, and all of a sudden you break through and you stack wins. I mean, we need to be playing our best ball now and continue that, and so that's hopefully you win your division and you get extra games, but that's the name of the game because it's such a journey during the season.
In terms of that, I mean, the fact that you have such a young team on offense.
Yeah.
Is that more of a reminder that with them that maybe the defensive guys who've been around?
Sure.
for a while?
Yeah, because they don't have that experience. They've been through some of those long seasons. Like Calais can go back and think of, you know, what it looked like when he, you know, squared off against Randall McDaniel and guys like that. And now, you know, get ready to play, and so he's got that experience.
They just have one.
He didn't play against Randall McDaniel.
The turnover situation, they are -1. Whitehead looks like he's got 4 picks. And how do you address the 2 that you all had?
Yeah, and they've all, you know, like I said, I mean, there's obviously that's the history of the league, right? The turnover margins, you know, that's not going to change. Like I said, we went to 0, but that's not what we want. You know, you like to have the advantage and not turn the ball over. And they're all different, but you got to work on it, and you got to keep working through it because those are things that cost you. And they do a good job, right? They can take the ball away. And like I said, that's a big challenge. We're playing a fast defense like this that's aggressive, and they do a good job.
How much of a confidence boost was it that those turnovers last weekend came in the red zone rather than anywhere else, essentially?
Yeah, it's a good subjective argument because you can look at numbers all you want. You can cut the numbers up, but it's like what turnovers are worse?
Yeah.
You know, like those. I mean, none of them are great, but like when you fumble on a kickoff return, that's like you're losing a possession. That's a devastating. They're all hurt, but that one for sure. Like you don't even get a chance to match it. Like you literally lose a possession there. Yeah, the pick sixes, right? Like our turnover for the half, that cost us at least 3, but they didn't have anything going back. I mean, you could argue Jesse's was a 14 or 10-point swing. I mean, that's a huge turnover. So, yeah, I mean, they're none of them are great, but there's some of them that have a bigger impact than others, and those 2 that we had for us defensively they were critical and huge. So one day somebody smarter than me will find a way, whether they get through, use AI in a good way to computer, you know, spit those out for this. Literally the history of the NFL, and you print it out like you could come up with a value chart on turnovers. I'm sure like I said, somebody smarter will do that, and because that is a great argument.
Did you feel like having Desmond kind of sit out for those 2 games and come back in, like, you felt like maybe made a difference, or he still had some turnovers before they?
Yeah, but I think that's a good question too. But I think it's the way he handled it. Like he understood what happened, you know, and he didn't go in the tank, and he didn't play passive.
You got cleats? Are you going to represent shoes or cleats or anything?
I have not, but I think it's a cool thing that people do. I know some coaches do it. Everybody got their own style, things that help. And again, I guess maybe I'm not creative, but it's cool.
Anything else?
Thank you.